Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth, and this is going to be a kind of try on haul of what I've purchased so far, both during the Sephora savings event, I think it's called, and just in general items that are available at Sephora. So I will have timestamps down below, and obviously I'm barefaced, so I'll do a full face, but to the extent I have any items that are kind of duplicative, I'll just kind of talk about them, I guess, in passing. And I will also have both what I've ordered that I have not received yet and what is currently in my basket, because you may be stronger than I am and only place one order during the Sephora sale, but I am not that strong. So I know I already have a pretty hefty cart that I will go through at the end. So if you'd like to give me feedback on what I'm considering purchasing, you can do that in the comments. And to the extent I have any kind of tips for how to shop the sale or recommendations as we go along, some of these items I've tried before, some of them will be first impressions. I will let you know that. So the first item here, so I did place one order for pickup, and when I went in store, I saw that they did have the Tower 28 Lil Softies Tinted Lip Treatment Set. So this retails for $20, and with the 20% off, I got it for about $16 with tax. So this has 4 little lip balms. I will have links to all of the products I'm talking about in the description box. Those will be affiliate links, as they are with every creator, so I thank you in advance if you choose to shop through them. I just make a small commission from your purchase at no cost to you. So anyway, the reason I mentioned that specifically is there are some items that are out of stock online that may be in stock in store. So this was one of those examples. And sometimes you can place an order online for pickup and get the discount that way. Sometimes you just have to, I guess, get lucky and see if it's in your local Sephora. And this was one of those cases. So very excited to try this formula. So I think I want to start off with Sugar Plum. This is the lip balm that is, I believe, exclusive to this set, is limited edition. So you also get watermelon kiwi, ube vanilla, and dulce de leche in this little set if you happen to pick it up. These are really cute. I haven't tried this formula before, so not the ideal applicator, as I think a lot of people have mentioned. So let's see how this looks. It's very like melty. I was expecting it to be a little bit stiffer, but I think that's actually really nice. It does have a little bit of a perfumery type plum note, so if you're not into that, this might not be kind of your favorite if you want something a little bit more gourmand. But yeah, so far so good on that one. So I think I'm gonna do my eyes next. So I did pick up the Huda Beauty Icy Nude palette. This was in my pickup in store order. And I did note that it is out of stock online at Sephora, so you can either try picking it up at your local store, or if that isn't an option, I did see that it is in stock at Kohl's. So that's a really great tip if you haven't already perused the Kohl's website, because they do sometimes have items that are sold out at Sephora, or, as I'll talk about later on, sometimes the pricing varies a little bit. So you might be able to get even a better deal by shopping at the Kohl's website. So this famously is the last large palette, we'll say, from Huda Beauty. I like the color story, and I like, in general, kind of the interior packaging. I was relieved to see that she didn't do any kind of weird petri dish shades with this palette. Didn't have any swirled shades either. I thought it was kind of funny. As you know, Natasha Denona released the Roxa palette, which I purchased, I think, directly from Natasha Denona. But she kind of took a page out of Huda's playbook. In that middle shade there has that kind of swirled pattern. It's never really my favorite. I think it's just to give visual interest to the palette, but you never know exactly what the shade is going to look like on your eyelids. So for that reason, I'm not usually a fan. The outer packaging, not my favorite design. It feels very, I don't know, like anyone could have designed this sort of thing. Didn't love the redesign of their logo necessarily. For example, the rose quartz packaging I thought was really pretty. This one, it just doesn't really do it for me. So it does have a mirror cover. And it does lay flat, if you're interested in that. I don't know if it will, yeah, it'll pretty much stay upright as well. Yeah, I wondered if they were creating this palette or designing it around the time that the whole like mob wife aesthetic was in. I think that was at the beginning of 2024, if memory serves. So going in with the Fenty eye primer, this is my go-to primer. So I don't know if it's just me, but it did seem to take a little bit of inspiration from that, and some of these shade names like Faux Fur, VVS, which I think is like the diamond grading, things like that just seem to be very, I don't know, mob wife aesthetic oriented. I'm gonna quickly set my eyelids with my Charlotte Tilbury powder. I didn't do a dedicated like recommendations video, in part because I don't really have time to do like 5 Sephora sale videos. No shade to any creator that does, but if you do watch my channel consistently, then you probably already know what I like. So I'm gonna take the Avalanche shade all over just to kind of provide a base. Figured we'd do something on the icy side, given the palette name. I guess the nude side also kind of plays a part here, so you could go in either direction. I'm gonna start with Lavish in the crease with a Sonia G Classic crease. And then I'm going to take my Sonia G Mini Booster in the High Life shade up here. Just focus that on kind of the outer V area, as we used to call it. So far these shades are cooperating pretty well. I'm going to take a little bit of this Classic crease in the Cold Plunge, that kind of cream shade, and just go sort of right under the brow bone. And then I think for just a tad bit more depth, I'm gonna go into the Faux Fur shade, same kind of mini booster, and just lightly kind of give that outer corner a little bit more definition. So, so far these shades are blending pretty nicely. I do like the overall color story of this palette, and like I said, I was happy to see that she kind of dispensed with, I don't know, some of the more unique formulas. Like I said, I don't really need any kind of party tricks in my makeup palettes. So, and then it's never a bad idea to kind of go back in and blend. So yeah, I think I'm still maintaining enough of the definition, but they are blending. So pretty good on that front. Okay, so the metallics, from what I've seen, may have a tiny bit of fallout. So we'll see how we do. I like to start off with a dry brush. So I'm gonna take a Refy 28 and I'm gonna go into Bling right here. So we'll see how that picks up on a dry brush, not much at all really. One thing I do appreciate about, I'll just see kind of how this, it's very pretty, very sparkly. But I don't think this is going to give you kind of full opacity. One thing I do like about Natasha Denona is that she labels her formulas, so you kind of know going in like what a sparkling foiled is going to be, what a creamy matte is. Without having those kind of guideposts, it's a little bit more difficult. I'm gonna try Platinum, which is this shade right here on the same brush. I just wanna see if I can get kind of an opaque lay down. Okay, so very, very pretty. So like I said, I do like this color story. Even if I wasn't a huge fan of it, I probably would have picked it up just because it was her last last large palette anyway. I'm gonna go in with Diamond Dew. Same brush. So I saw the Lipstick Lesbians, I guess, talk about this palette, and they were saying that some of these shades you really do need kind of your finger to break up the pigment. So usually I like to do kind of a combination of brush and finger, because depending on your eye shape, it can be a little bit difficult to get into all the crevices. So this is Diamond Dew. So just kind of focusing on the mobile lid here. This is kind of a very flaky shadow. So I think this is going to be a very pretty, like, party palette, like for New Year's or whatever you want to do. If you want more of a true smoky eye palette, I would say maybe look at the Xenon if that is still available. Because this does have those nude shades, I mean, there's nothing wrong with incorporating some warmth into a smoky eye, but if you just want kind of a true smoky eye, maybe you look at that palette. I'm gonna go into Iced Out. This one looks like it has a bit of lavender in it. Same brush. Oh, that's pretty. So yeah, so there are some interesting shades in here. The mattes are really nice. I just don't think there are a lot of kind of your typical satins or metallics to go with them, which is kind of a good and a bad thing. Like it makes the overall effect a little bit more special, but it also means it's a little bit less kind of everyday friendly. I'm gonna try that bling shade again that I went in with. This one definitely feels a little bit more gritty. You can see there's a little bit less kind of opacity to it. Yeah, so it was really pretty, but I think this is really just more of a kind of special occasion palette. I mean, the mattes are really nice. I almost wish she had offered maybe a full matte. How many matte shades do you get here? 11, I guess. And then 7 shimmer metallic glitter shades for 18 shades in total. So maybe if she had offered like one fully matte palette in her kind of 9-pan format. So I have her gold palette here. And I know these never got the same hype because these palettes were made in Italy and these smaller ones this one was made in China. So now that the market has kind of shifted a little bit in terms of preferences and we're getting away a little bit from those larger palettes, maybe if she had done, with these same kind of Italian quality formulas, one like fully matte palette and then one kind of more special palette, that is a very kind of makeup artist thing to do. You think of like the Viseart shadows, for example, like when they started off, now they have kind of mixed formulas, but when they started off, it was more of the convention to have all mattes and then all shimmers. Like you can even look at the initial Makeup by Mario palettes. And I think the rationale for that is that if you are working on clients who are doing TV work or that kind of thing, you want to be able to create an all matte look, especially if you're doing any kind of period film, that kind of thing. You want to ensure that there aren't any little specks of glitter or whatever that get into the matte shades. So I think there is some sense to that, and as we've seen from, I guess, Patrick Ta's latest offerings, I think his last large palette was an all matte palette, which I never picked up, but it seemed like it did pretty well. A lot of people mentioned that in their kind of favorites or recommendations videos. And now, as you probably know, he is releasing shimmery or metallic duos. So I can kind of see that as a way forward for Huda Beauty. So of giving people a lot, which they may or may not necessarily want, is kind of honing in on like the more specific things. I think that's just kind of the nature of business as well, isn't it? Think of like conglomerations and breaking businesses apart. It just seems to go in cycles. But anyway, I am applying the Lisa Eldridge pencil in Cinder Smoke with my little BK 20, I think it's a 208. Neither of these is available at Sephora, but okay, so I think those are even enough. I keep waiting for Lisa Eldridge's next release. I heard rumors that she was going to release another purple palette to replace her Myth palette, I think it was, the purple one. And I'm kind of hoping that she releases a purple eye pencil as well. I know Victoria Beckham has some, and I think I prefer the Lisa Eldridge formula by just a tad. So I would prefer to buy a purple pencil from Lisa Eldridge. So just curling my lashes. And then I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Exaggereyes mascara. So this, I think a lot of people have recommended in their videos, and this is like the travel size that I purchased from Ulta. I didn't see the travel size on sale at Sephora, but if you wanted to try it at a slight discount, I think quite a few people got like 10 off of 50 coupons, or I think they're doing like 15% off app orders. You know how Ulta likes to compete when Sephora is having their sale, and vice versa for that matter. Sephora always kind of matches the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. So I feel like I'm kind of a broken record when it comes to mascara because I'm very picky. Typically I go with a waterproof formula to hold my curl. And this is a brand new tube, by the way. I haven't used it before. So yeah, I would say it is a little bit on the thicker side, more volumizing. I do like the brush, but I think it still doesn't quite hold the curl and keep them lifted the way my Tarte Lights Camera Splashes does. So if your lashes are naturally curled and that's not a big concern to you, you might enjoy this. Maybe try out the travel size before you commit to the full size. But for me, it doesn't quite do the job. Okay, so you can see I definitely have some sparkle fallout. Didn't use any kind of glitter glue or anything, as you saw. So I'm just using a micellar wipe to clean underneath here. So now that the eyes are done and I need to kind of rehydrate my under eyes, so I picked up the Refy, is it Eye Balm? Yeah, Eye Balm. I picked this up I think a few weeks ago now. I had a Sephora Rouge discount, whatever it's called. So I picked this up, and although I do have dry under eyes, I don't know that I'm quite as impressed with it as like Martina Lily is, who very consistently recommends it. It doesn't, I don't think it's had a negative effect on anything, but like it feels really nice. I think it has some kind of menthol adjacent product. I'll put the ingredient up at the bottom of the screen because it seems like it's okay as far as like the Paula's Choice Beautypedia page. So it has a cooling effect, but as far as I can tell, it doesn't like do anything else in terms of irritating my under eyes. So I'm a little confused by that. But I guess my under eyes feel a little bit more hydrated, but I don't know. It hasn't like made a huge difference to me, especially in conjunction with like the under eye patches that I use, which help to kind of catch fallout and that kind of thing. So I don't know. It's probably not something I would repurchase. I kind of use it now just because I have it. So that's just kind of a meh product to me, really. So in terms of hydrating my skin, I did want to mention that I did pick up the Beauty Blender Primer from Kohl's. So this was the primer that won an Allure Best of Beauty Award for 2024. It was half off at Kohl's. So instead of $29, it was $14.50. It's currently out of stock at Sephora, but I figured I would give that a shot since it was like $11 when I picked it up. But in lieu of that, I mean, my skin feels pretty good, but I always like to put something down before I go in with a complexion product. So I'm just going to use the Say Super Gel in Star Glow. So just to have something a little bit hydrating. And then as part of my online pickup in store order, I did get the Sephora Skin Tint in the shade, I think this is the lightest shade, 100N Fair. So just comes like so. It looks like this has a 12-month shelf life. As you probably know, Sephora collection is 30% off for everyone. I always have in the back of my mind the idea to do a full face of Sephora collection, which is not kind of a groundbreaking concept, but I've picked up various things as they've been released. I think what's holding me back is I've purchased some of their eyeshadows online and they always seem to arrive broken. So that just seems to require me to go in store to pick them out. And that always just seems like too much of a headache, especially if I have my husband in tow and his patience is kind of stretched thin. It's just, I don't know, that much more of a thing. Okay, so I don't like how they package this. I'm cutting it with my X-Acto knife, which is always kind of a risky proposition on camera. And I know not having outer boxes and things kind of helps keep the costs down. Okay, so it had a sticker on the front. Yeah, generally I'm okay with like Sephora collection packaging, but sometimes it does feel a little bit more drugstore at the end of the day. But still, this is a very well-priced, I think, skin tint for what you're getting. So I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand there. And I did look at the display in store, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be my best shade match. So it is a skin tint. I have to remember that. Might have dispensed a little bit too much. So it definitely does give some coverage, which is nice. Sometimes, especially if it's not something that gives SPF, if it has very minimal coverage, I don't know, usually I just don't bother going out, but I think this does seem to have a nice finish to it. I do need actually a little bit more. And yeah, you do get 30 ml in this little squeezy bottle. So. Okay, so I think I'm happy with this. It does seem to kind of set down a bit. Still see plenty of freckles and things kind of poking through. There's probably a limit to how much you can build this up.
The limit does not exist. The limit does not exist.
But I'd say if you do want a skin tint, I'd say this one is definitely worth looking into. Especially during the sale, and you can get 30% off. And I do have dry skin, by the way. Okay, so for brows, so I'm going to use, again, this Anastasia Volumizing Tinted Brow Gel in the shade Taupe. I did get this from Influencer, so I've had this for a little while now, and I didn't pay for it. But I don't love this, and I've seen some people include this in their recommendation videos, and it's okay. I do like the tone, I do like the component. I think now that maybe I've used it a few times, some of the excess product has come off, but I don't think there's anything super special about this. They do have a mini size of this product. So again, if you are interested in it, I would suggest that you take a look at the mini. I'm always a fan of when brands do that. But otherwise, I would still say that the e.l.f. Wow Brow is a better buy. That's like $5.99 or something. So I'm gonna provide a little bit more setting power with the Billion Dollar Brow Lift. So I don't think the Anastasia has fibers, which the e.l.f. does, and also the Benefit Gimme Brow. So that's not to say that a non-fiber brow gel can't be volumizing, but I don't know. I find that I like the ones that have fibers. On the topic of brows, I should mention that I didn't pick up from Sephora. I purchased from Patrick Ta. I got all of his duos, and he included some free brow products to kind of sweeten the deal, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna do those as a separate video. I didn't purchase them from Sephora. If you have any specific questions or requests in terms of comparisons or whatnot, when it comes to the Patrick Ta duos, I know a lot of kind of YouTube ink, so to speak, has been spilled on those in the last, I don't know, couple weeks. So anyway, I'll try to make my video as helpful as possible, but I just figured I would do that separately. So going into concealer. So I did pick up the Westman Atelier concealer. I got this from Credo actually, because they had a 20% off sale. And since that discount was going to be the same as the Sephora sale, I kind of figured why not. So this is in the shade, let me look for a second. What shade are you? I believe this is the lightest shade, L1. When I first applied it, as you can see, it looks a little bit dark, but once I kind of blended it out, I did think that it actually kind of worked for me. So yeah, I have worn this once before. I think I actually wore it on Halloween. So I don't have any kind of firm opinions on it other than like when I first applied it, I was kind of scared it would be too dark for me. But you can see once I blend it in, I think it is more of a skin tone match. I don't think it's super brightening on me if you are a skin twin. So I do like it, and I do like the component. There's something about it that feels luxury, it feels high-end. It's a very kind of small little concealer component actually. I like that you have that little window there. Even has the little kind of Westman Atelier heart. And if you look on the inside of the cap, it says Westman Atelier. And in general, I think it might be glass. It feels weighted. It feels like something that you might have had like in the 60s or something before plastics kind of took over the world. So I do like that about it. Let's see. I've been wearing the CL concealer a lot lately. I do like this one. I like the Danessa Myricks concealer, which also has a very kind of petite form factor to it. The Westman Atelier is a little bit heavier maybe. So yeah, so I'm kind of a concealer junkie. I have very fair skin, which means my under eyes kind of pop through a lot. So I'm always up to trying a new concealer. I've never been a huge fan of the Natasha Denona concealer. I don't know if that's just because I haven't gotten the right shade. I have it in the shade R1, but I think R2 might actually be better for me. I don't know if it's because it's too light, that it seems to exacerbate kind of under eye dryness to me. But yeah, I'm willing to give it another try. But yeah, in general, that one just hasn't seemed to be hydrating enough for me. Kind of jumping ahead a little bit to what I have in my basket currently. I have another shade of the Kulfi concealer because I did try their lightest shade when I did my kind of Kulfi video, but that shade I don't think was quite right. It was a little bit too yellow leaning, I think. And I also have the Sarah Creole concealer. So those are both kind of, again, things that I might be trying. Not that I need any more concealer, clearly. So just to bronze up a little bit before we move on, this is a product that I said in one video that maybe I should repurchase during the sale. I think I might just try to use more of it up before I repurchase because I have been purchasing a good amount at Sephora. But if you haven't tried this, this would definitely be a recommendation. Great kind of easy product, pairs wonderfully with the BK 105 brush, just fits right in there. So I think this retails for $30, and that is currently what a lot of the like deluxe gifts with purchase are as far as the threshold that you can add at checkout at Sephora. So sometimes I like holding off on products that are in that range for a later date when I need them maybe a little bit more, because then you can take advantage of some of those deluxe samples. So really, really nice kind of natural bronzer, and I have it in the shade Light. Okay, let's move on to blush. So I have a few different blush options to talk about. This is another product that I bought online and picked up in store. And again, I will have it linked down below because I know sometimes if things are out of stock online, they're a little bit more difficult to find. But this is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Tint Duo. So I was interested in this when it first launched, but it does say it's a Sephora exclusive. So really good value on this. Does it say how much it is? I think it's like, yeah, $55 for the Duo, and does it say the value? So one of these would be $39. So the shade that I was most interested in, to be honest, was the 62 Delicate Mauve, which is a dusty rose. But this also includes the 53 Bold Pink, which is a cool baby pink. So it says 2 full-size best-selling shades, and it's no surprise that these are their best-selling shades because they are basically the Sabrina Carpenter shades. Yeah, so I was definitely curious about trying this formula. The baby pink really wasn't one that I was super interested in. I would have probably just gotten that shade, but I figured why not kind of give it a try. So I'm gonna start off with this one. I'm trying to get some on my hand here. They will have the new highlighters from Armani, the liquid highlighters, beginning I think on November 6th for Rouge. So if you are Rouge and you've been waiting on those like I have, I'm probably gonna place another order for that one. So let's see how this applies. Just going on the cheek here. So I'm applying kind of towards the back of the cheek. I think that's really pretty. Very, very kind of sheer. I want to see what happens if I just kind of plop it on the cheek. And one thing that is kind of appealing about the highlighter being kind of similar to the blush, I guess you could kind of do the same thing with the Rare Beauty blushes and highlighters, but you can kind of mix them together a little bit more if you want to kind of play makeup artist and concoct your perfect combination of shimmer and sparkles. So you can see I was able to get a much more sheer application just applying it with the brush from my hand. It's easier to build up the color a little bit more quickly if you just go in directly. And this, by the way, is the Sephora 47 brush. It's actually a foundation brush, but if you I feel like that's more of a Sabrina Carpenter cheek right there. But if you haven't tried Sephora collection brushes before, don't sleep on them because they're actually quite nice. This one is pretty much a dupe. It might have come out before, I don't know. But this one is very similar to the BK 109 brush in terms of a kind of slanted cheek brush. BK does a lot of sales, and now they're on like TikTok Shop and Amazon, so I don't know that you'd be hard pressed to find them on sale, but just put a little bit of that pink there. And I will admit that part of me always just, I don't know, gets stubborn and gets a little entrenched when something I'm considering buying goes out of stock and it's no longer kind of easily accessible and available. I kind of, I don't know, try a bit harder to get it. And Armani is one of those sites where it's kind of annoying because they'll have these site-wide sales where they have exclusions, which to me is not a site-wide sale. But they had all these sales where these blushes were excluded. I don't know if once the highlighters come out to their site, whether those will be excluded from sales. But in terms of deciding whether you want to buy from Sephora or buy from another site, it might just be worth buying from Sephora, essentially. Okay, I skipped contour. I did post on my community page. Someone had a question about the Dior contour in 01 versus the Fenty, which I have a little mini of here. So I have a comparison picture on my community page if you are interested in that. They're very similar colors actually, the Fenty in Amber versus the Dior in 01. The Dior is going to be scented, and it's going to have a higher price point, of course. I will say the Dior, it leans a little bit more green, and the Fenty leans a little bit more red. So to the extent that's helpful to anyone, but I'm just going to go ahead and I guess skip the contour. One thing that is definitely worth checking out, so we have two Westman Atelier sets. One of these I got with a Rouge reward, I guess. And one of them I think I got in the Credo sale. So I like the Christmas packaging that she did this year much better than last year. Last year it was all red and it just didn't appeal to me. But as we know, pink goes good with green. So I do like these shades. I think one of them, these might all be permanent shades, but they're not all permanently available in the mini size. So we have Petal, which I already had. What was the middle one? Pop It, which is more of a bright pink. And then Mimi is the green. And these are still pretty good packaging as far as the components go. They're not, I guess, as luxury as the full size because they are like click, closure, they're not magnetic, they're smaller, of course. This is more of that bright pink Pop It. But I'd say generally buying these mini blushes, buying any makeup really, in the mini size is always a good thing. This is Petal. I think Petal is typically available in the mini permanently. So yeah, so those are the three that are available in that set. And then we also got this set, which has their mascara. I haven't heard anyone say that they actually like the mascara. And I used the Charlotte Tilbury one today anyway. But this one has, I think, are they 2 exclusive shades? The packaging, I will say, it's fine. It doesn't feel like super luxe or anything. Like it's very kind of thin cardboard. It's not anything, I don't know, super substantial, if that matters to you. If you're just kind of buying it for what's inside, or even if you're buying it for a gift, I don't know that the recipient would care that much. But anyway, this is the shade Bubble. I did wear this actually. And I think this is an exclusive shade. So that is more of a mauve tone. And again, going with the whole like Wicked thing, these aren't in any way connected to the movie, but just in my own mind. And then we did get a highlighter in, what are you called? Toast. So probably not like my ideal highlighter shade, but I have worn this before and I will go ahead and apply it. It's a little bit more veering into blush topper territory, but I have a very kind of dewy complexion right now, so I can kind of blend it in without too much trouble. I'm just rubbing my finger over it, like so. So I'm kind of dipping my toes in to the Westman Atelier brand. I purchased her complexion sticks over the summer, and I have her little mini of Biscuit is the contour. All right, well, make sure you twist it down all the way. All right, so just know that these are quite soft. I feel like that's not the greatest loss in the world because honestly, I don't know how often I would reach for it, but still, just be aware. All right, so I'm actually gonna stick this in the fridge just to see if I can get it to kind of firm up a little bit. All right, let's move on to powder, shall we? Okay, so I don't have a new powder to show you, but I do have the Tower 28 powders. I have both Translucent Trestles and Palisades Pink. So I have tried these before. This isn't kind of a brand new impression. As many people have said, the pink really isn't that pink, and the translucent one is, I guess, about what you would expect in terms of translucence. I did order from Kohl's again, the Rare Beauty loose setting powder. I'm not generally a huge loose setting powder fan. Amanda Z recommended that one though. And I figured if I ever wanted to do a full face of Rare Beauty, that would be a good product to have. So the reason I picked it up at Kohl's was it was marked down to, I think, $17.50, down from $25. So that was before the discount, and then I got the additional 20% off of that. So if you are interested in that powder, highly recommend that you check out Kohl's, and that in general, you just check out the sales sections of both websites really, but don't forget Kohl's. So I'm applying the pink powder with the BK103, just so we can kind of see how it looks. I think, as I mentioned the first time I tried this powder, I do wish they had included a mirror. Like with a lot of products, I know Patrick Ta said for his eyeshadow duos that he wanted to include a mirror. For eyeshadow singles and duos, that kind of thing, I don't think a mirror is really necessary because it's likely to be too small to really be of much use, and you're probably not applying a powder on the go. So this is the Patrick Ta in We Need Better Lighting, just to show you. So, you know, if you turn it on its side, I guess you can get a look at both of your eyes at the same time. But yeah, in general, you're probably just not applying these by themselves. You're probably combining them with other shadows, I'm guessing. With a powder, you're much more likely to apply it on the go, to have it in your handbag or whatever. So anyway, so I just wanted to show you how my under eyes are looking before I powder. So I'd say there's pretty minimal creasing, some like right up under this lash line, but that is not unusual for me. And generally I will apply some shadow right underneath to help with that. So that is what it looks like set. So I think these powders are fine. Would I go out of my way to repurchase? Probably not. I'm gonna take, again, the Huda palette, and I like to put some shadow right under the lash lines. So I'm gonna take my little flat definer and go into High Life, maybe. I do really like the tones of these. And I didn't use my Lumify eye drops before filming, so my eyes might look a little bit more red than usual. And then I'm going to apply my Clinique bottom lash. And then my lips are feeling a bit dry currently. So let's try the Ube Vanilla one. That one's pretty. Yeah, I don't know if these are going to be the most nourishing in the long term. I really like the Ulla Henriksen ones or the Edam ones. I mean, I'm happy to try the formula. I don't know if these would be my top recommendation for a lip balm at Sephora. Just checking to see if they have lanolin in them. They are vegan. So again, fun little set. Don't know that I would repurchase a full size from them. All right, so I think that is it as far as kind of the full face. I'll just quickly mention, I'll scoot over here. As far as skincare, I did purchase the First Aid Beauty Firming Cream. That was $26.40, down from $44 at Kohl's. It's $33 at Sephora. I'm not sure why there's a price difference, but you can get it for a pretty good deal at Kohl's, and of course get the 20% off on top of that. And I've also ordered the Sephora Favorites fragrance set. So if you'd like to see a full video on that, let me know. But I purchased it primarily because they had the Tom Ford Cafe Rose. And if you are thinking of buying a fragrance during a sale or anytime really, it's always worth checking to see if that fragrance is included in one of these sets. Because sometimes the list price is cheaper than the list price of that fragrance, and during the sale especially, you get your discount on top of it. Okay, so what do I have in my cart right now? So Jamie Page talks about the Fenty Beauty Home Curl Defining Styling Cream. They have a 3.4 ounce size for $16, so I might try that. Talking about Amanda Z again, I have the Hourglass Scattered Light Glitter Eyeshadow in the shade Smoke, which is the taupier version. I already have it in the shade Reflect, which is more of a champagne. I just purchased the shade Ray from Ulta because I had like a $10 off of 50 coupon. So referring back to the Patrick Ta shadows, I am planning to do some kind of roundup comparison video, so I wanted to try that one out. But for whatever reason, Sephora and Ulta seem to have different shades available. I think only Sephora has the shade Smoke, in addition to the Hourglass website, of course. I have a Sarah Creole lipstick, so I have 3 from her already, and these are quite pricey. I purchased 3 at full price from her website because I did a little reel, short, whatever you want to call it, with 3 of the shades. So if you want to see the shades Mansplain, Madam President, or Red v. Wade, you can check that out. But I have in my cart the shade Double Standard, which I think is a rose shade. So I don't have anything in that color family. And I really like her lipsticks. So they have a nice kind of weighty component. I like this mint pistachio green color. Kind of has like Art Deco kind of styling to it. And yeah, magnetic packaging and everything. A little bit more expensive than the NARS lipsticks, which are already quite pricey. But yeah, I kind of want to try another one of those. So I have that. I have her concealer. So concealer junkie, like I mentioned. I have the Kulfi concealer in the shade Badam. I had the lightest shade, Fudge something, like I mentioned. I have an Urban Decay shadow in the shade Solstice. I just picked up the shade Glitter Rock from Ulta. So I have all of the new e.l.f. glitter shades swatched on TikTok, possibly Instagram. And Solstice was one of the shades that they duped that I didn't have. So I kind of threw it in here. Part of me has a difficult time paying more than $12 for these because sometimes Ulta has them for like half off. So I'm not sure whether I want to pick that one up for the sake of content or not. I have the Patrick Ta foundation, and I did swatch that on my jaw when I went into Sephora to pick up my order. The last time I swatched in store, it was in like a mall setting. In this Sephora that I went to was more of an indoor-outdoor mall kind of situation, so it was a little bit easier to see colors accurately maybe. So I think the shade Too Rosy is maybe what I would go with. I have the Kulfi Cream eyeshadow in the shade Sona Sona, which everyone has been talking about. I didn't really like those Kulfi shadows when I used them in general. I just find it more difficult to use cream or liquid shadows, so it really doesn't make much sense for me to buy this, but it is really pretty. I swatched that one in store. Khaki had a video where she talked about, I think it was I Need a Nude. Someone had asked that she compare the shade Muse, which is that middle one, to the shade Sona Sona, and they looked pretty darn similar. So maybe because I have this shade, I don't need to pick up that one. So something to think about. And then the last product, also something that Khaki has talked about, the Sarah Creole Adults Are Talking Solid Serum Lip Balm. That's kind of a maybe. I think I would just as soon pick up the Edam Clear Lip Balm, but I think that one is currently out of stock. So I'm not sure if that one will kind of survive or not in my cart. So anyway, that's kind of my takeaways, my suggestions, my recommendations, etc. Let me know if you have any questions about anything I talked about or any requests for future videos, and I'd be happy to try to incorporate those. Like I said, I'll probably do a Patrick Ta focused video next, and I don't know. I have a lot of ideas for videos that never see the light of day, but anyway, let me know if you have any thoughts down below. So hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.